at the end. Okay, let's do an example. So let's call this example A. Okay, so example A, I've got x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. All right, so let's go through each step. Step number 1. I gotta set it equal to 0. And what we can say for this one is, guess what? It's already done. So I'm just gonna rewrite it. X squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. Done. It's done with step 1. Okay, step 2. Vertex. Okay, so for this step, we're kind of accessing our knowledge from the last chapter. We're going to take the x value is equal to negative b. So in this case, my b value is 2. So I'm going to have negative 2 over 2 times my a value, which in this case is 1. If it's not written there, it's 1. Okay? So I go to solve this, negative 2 over 2. And I get negative 1 as my answer. Okay, now that I have my x value, remember we got to plug that x value in to solve for y. So let's go ahead and do that. So now y is going to be equal to negative 1 squared plus 2x, oops, not x, plus 2 negative 1 minus 3. Okay, let's solve this now. So this part becomes positive 1. This becomes a negative 2 minus 3, which means my y value at the end of this ends up being 1. Minus 2 is negative 1. Minus 3 equals negative 4. Okay? So now I've got my first point. So my vertex, I'll go ahead and write it right here just so I can know this is going to be my vertex. Negative 1, negative 4. Okay? So that's going to be my first point. But we need 3 points. So let's do step 3, which is finding the second point. Now first I'm going to look at option A. I'm going to look at the C value and see, is this a crazy C value that I'm dealing with? Well, my C value here is negative 3, so guess what? I'm going to use that because that's already going to be pretty close to my vertex here. So remember that the y-intercept is always going to be 0, C. So 0, and C in this case is negative 3. Now I know why I accidentally put a 3 there before. I was already looking ahead. Okay, so there's the second point. Now to find the fourth point, we actually have to do a reflection. So I can't do that just by looking at all this. I need to actually start graphing now, okay? So this is a point where we start graphing. I usually don't start graphing until I've found at least 2 points that will help me draw my graph in a way that is going to accommodate those 2 points. So for example, I've got a lot of negative y values, so I might give myself more room in the negatives to draw this graph. And I've only got a 0 and a negative 1 for x values, so I might even give myself more room in the negative x values to draw my graph as well. So in this case, I'm going to draw a graph that looks kind of like this. I need to go all the way down to negative 4, so I'll go a little bit past it and I'll go to negative 5. Okay, so you can see I've kind of made a graph that accommodates it better. Also shaped like a cross, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let's do the vertex first. Vertex is negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's my vertex, negative 1, negative 4. Now I'm going to draw my second point. I've got 0, negative 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I've got my 2 points. Before I can find my third point, this is where I do my reflection. So I'm going to kind of draw my invisible axis of symmetry. And now I need to reflect. So to reflect, I go to the axis of symmetry and then away from the axis of symmetry to create what would be mirrored on the other side. Okay? And now when I go to draw this parabola, I'm going to do some predictive measures because I know I need my answer to be where it's going to cross the x-axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of predict where I think it's going to cross. And it kind of looks like to me, since parabolas kind of shoot up really quickly like this, I might just predict it's going to cross right there. Okay. Do the same thing to this other side. Kind of looks like it would probably cross right there. We'll just end it early right there. Okay. So now I'm going to zero in on these 2 points. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself because now I'm moving on to step 5 when I need to talk about the fact that I just did step 4, the reflected point. Okay. So that was step 4, was finding this point right here. Now that I've drawn the parabola, now I can do step 5 where I identify where it's crossing. So step 5, we'll put right here, which is, let's go ahead and count this. 1, 2, 3. So right here, x is equal to -3. Or x is equal to 1. And that is going to be my answer. And then I'm done. If you want to check your answer to make sure that you didn't mess anything up, because it is kind of hard to tell when you're freehanding it like this. So maybe you want to plug these in and see, do these actually make the equation equal to 0? I'll do one real quick. I'll do 1, because if I know 1 is correct, then I know -3 is most likely correct, because it's a mirror image of the two. You can clearly see they're both 2 spaces away from the axis of symmetry. So I'm just going to check 1, and 1 looks like it's the easiest one to just plug in and solve just without having to write anything down. I can solve this pretty easily. So if I plug it in right here, I get 1 squared, which is 1, plus 2 times 1, which is 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 3 gives me 0. So I know that they're good to go. That's kind of a quick way that you can check that. You only have to check one of them if you can tell that they're mirror images. Okay? All right, so that's how you do